The Miami Heat are 6-7 to start this NBA season, and they have a Terry Rozier problem. The man they traded Kyle Lowry and a first-round pick for 2 weeks before the trade deadline last year has not been able to perform to our expectations this season, and questions about his fit long-term with this ball club are starting to be raised. And we'll dive into everything here in just a second. But make sure you are following me over on X/Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. I tweet about the Miami Heat every single day with news, rumors, and highlights during game days. So make sure you follow me over there for more Miami Heat coverage on a 365 basis. All right, Rozier has not played well. He missed the game on Monday against the 76ers, and what do you know? The Heat won by 19. Or actually, it was 17, but never mind. The Heat have not gotten what they thought out of Rozier this year, because in the first 12 games of the season, he has been horrible, and it just goes beyond averaging only 12.9 points per game, because that's actually not the issue here for me. Because Rozier, if he was averaging 13 a night, but also averaging about 5.5 assists and shooting efficiently from the field, that's cool by me. I'm not asking him to be a 20-point-per-game scorer when you have Tyler, Bam, and Jimmy on this roster. But when you average only 13 a game and you shoot 38% from the field and 33.3% from beyond the arc, that's not going to be all right by me. And it's the way it has looked as well. He's turning the ball over. He can't make layups. I actually think that we would be fine with Terry Rozier if he just knew how to finish inside the restricted area. I can count on my hand, I think, about 8 layups this year that I would expect an NBA caliber guard to be able to make in his sleep. And he's not made them. And if he does make them, his averages probably are closer to 14 a game, and he's shooting probably 43% from the field, and we're fine. It's been ugly at all stages of the game, and we're not even going to talk about much of his defensive effort this year. And it's not that his effort is lacking. He tries. He is just physically unable to defend because he's a little bit smaller. Now, he does have a good wingspan, so he can get in the passing lanes, but in terms of defending one-on-one, he is not physical enough to handle some of these larger-sized guards in the NBA, and he is just too short to be able to contest some of the taller guys as well. And I'll say this with Rozier. A lot of people want him to be traded. I can understand why they want Terry Rozier to be dealt and off this roster to give other people opportunities. A trade for Terry Rozier is not going to happen anytime soon. Does one happen before the deadline? Maybe, but it would have to be right around the deadline, so late January, early February before the deadline passes. But I do think a move to the bench for Terry Rozier could benefit both him and the way he plays, as well as this Miami Heat team as a whole, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. But let me know your thoughts. Be Eric Spoelstra, the head coach for the Miami Heat, for me. Should Terry Rozier be moved to the bench? Type S if he should remain a starter. Type B if you think he should go to the bench. It's today's pinned comment, so go scroll down and answer today's question. I lean that he should be benched by Eric Spoelstra on the Heat. And maybe benched is a strong word because I don't think it's a true benching. I still want him to play 24-plus minutes a game. I just think it would be better if he came off the bench and helped lean into that second unit to where he could be a main guy offensively. And we've seen the backcourt of Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier not work out this season. It just hasn't been that good. It's actually the other one, if we could get back to the first one. There we go, with Terry Rozier, because it has not been good. It's negative 1.8 overall rating. The true shooting percentage is 57.4%. And the pace is also pretty interesting because they're not getting over 100 possessions per game when you look at their pace. It's 98.77, and a lot of that can be tied to them sharing the court with a Jimmy Butler, a Bam Adebayo. But when you talk about when these two share the court together, 331 minutes, it's actually the most used duo in the entire team. Yes, being serious, most used duo in terms of minutes played. It has not been good. It's been mid at best. And this was my concern in the offseason. You can go back 2 months and find multiple videos of me detailing why I think starting both Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier is a bad idea because they usually have to play on ball for them both to be successful. They are not good defensively in by themselves, so what do you think a starting backcourt's going to be doing? And you've seen it so far not work out for this Miami Heat ball club. So if I'm going to present you a problem, I should also present you a solution. Well, Miss Allie Burfoot jumped the gun a little bit earlier, but here is the solution potentially because Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero have been sensational this year as a duo. Granted, playing about a third of the minutes as a Rozier Hero backcourt duo, but in the 101 minutes that these two have shared, the exciting whites as we call them, they have been unbelievable. 21.9 net rating. The offensive rating is above in off the charts, but the defense has been pretty good too at 102.4. And if you remember the other ones we showed, true shooting percentage, 62%. And the pace is much better at 101.57. It's a massive improvement, a 4% improvement in true shooting percentage, a 4 pace improvement as well. It has been better at all phases. They work together better, and it makes Hero play on ball a little bit more, which kind of takes away from the impact he's had as an off-ball playmaker this season, which has been the reason why he's off to an all-star caliber start. But the Heat team performs better when these two play together more often. Rozier just simply has not fit in with this ball club right now, and it's disheartening. He's played a total of 43 games, played 31 last year, 12 so far, and it just has been a roller coaster of a ride so far for Scary Terry, and it has been scary. But I want to throw into something else into the mix here because we looked at the duo of Rozier and Hero, and then also the duo of Duncan and Hero. Well, let's see what happens if we throw a third player in there with Bam Adebayo. And it's more of the same. Like when you have Rozier, Bam, and Hero, which is also the most used trio on the team, it has been the same thing as what we saw with Hero and Terry, to where it's just mid. It's slightly worse than what you want to see. And when you throw in Bam with Tyler and Duncan, you see a positive net rating similar to what we just showed. It is just hands down a better duo right now, but also when you mix in some of these other players and start to expand the lineups, you see that it's consistently not just a Duncan thing. Well, maybe it is a Duncan thing, but you can also say it's a Terry Rozier issue as well because he simply is not performing to the expectations we had for him. But maybe we should mellow out. Shout out to Mellow Seltzer, one of my favorite drinks, which I need to drink more of during Heat games because I get too stressed out. Shout out to Mellow. If you have any questions about Mellow, hit me up on Twitter. Because maybe I need some, just to be patient with Terry Rozier and maybe allow him to get comfortable again with this Miami Heat basketball team. Because if we take it back a year ago, when the Heat traded for Rozier, what happened in the first 10 games he played after being moved into Miami? Well, it was bad. 12.6 points per game, shooting 36% from the field, shooting a despicable 23.4% from beyond the arc. And if you remember the stats we showed at the beginning of the show, well, that was 12 games. This is 10 games, and the numbers are eerily similar. So you're saying, well, maybe you do need to mellow out and give him time to kind of regain confidence and get back into the mold with this team. Because if you do remember the first 10 games with the Heat with Rozier, you just saw the numbers. Well, look at the numbers that he finished with. In the 31 games he played with the Miami Heat, he averaged 16.4 points per game on 42.3% shooting and 37.1% from three. Well, if you looked at the numbers we just showed at the beginning or in the first 10 games to the numbers on screen right now, well, that takes a massive 21-game boost from Rozier to get from this to the numbers we just showed on screen a second ago. So he did finish the year strong with Miami before having that neck injury, and you just have to hope that he's going to be able to do something similar this season because the Heat aren't going to trade him right now. If this continues right now, maybe they deal him at the deadline like I mentioned a little bit earlier. But they're going to hold on to Terry and hope he can rebound and fit back in and hope he goes on a little bit of a run that he did last season when he bumped up those averages to 16.5 points per game on pretty solid efficiency. So let me know. You got hope in Terry Rozier? Will he turn it around? Type Y if you think he does. Type N if you think he doesn't. But if Terry Rozier does get traded this offseason, or not offseason, season again at the deadline, what could it look like for Terry? in Miami? Well, I think it's important to think of his contract first because he's getting paid $25 million this season, $26.5 next season, before becoming an unrestricted free agent in 26-27. So there's two ways that he can look at this. They could try to ride it out with Terry this season and then trade him next season if things don't go well because it will be an expiring contract and you can attach a pick to that like you did with Lowry to try to get an upgrade. Or you can just let the contract run out and attack the free agency period in 26-27 with $26.6 million off your books. Or you could cash in on that contract right now and take a couple players back that can benefit your team better. One trade that I've seen tossed around on Heat Twitter is this one, where you make a deal with the Nets. You give up Rozier and Josh Richardson plus a first-round pick potentially. I would probably do a lottery-protected one at worst, or at best, I should say, for Dorian Finney-Smith and Dennis Schroeder. You get a one-year contract in Schroeder that could come off the books this season, but can also play that role of point guard off the bench that has experience in the postseason, but also get a more well-rounded four-year starting group in Dorian Finney-Smith. He's averaging a career-high 11.5 points per game. He's shooting well from three right now. That is someone that is probably P.J. Tucker on steroids, if you will. The way he defends, he could shoot right now, and he would slide in nicely at that starting four spot for Miami, which is kind of a revolving door as we currently stand. I don't know if I'd be willing to do this trade, but I just want to throw this idea out there. You guys let me know your thoughts on each trade down in the comment section. But here's another one. Kyle Kuzma's making $23 million this season. Rozier's making $24 million. If they want to move off of Kuzma in Washington, would they make a deal for Rozier knowing he's an expiring contract next season? Maybe you attach a first-round pick to Terry to get Kuzma, and that fills your starting four role for the Miami Heat. Maybe that's an idea. There's also another idea out there, which is probably less enticing, but you make a deal with the Los Angeles Lakers where you send Terry Rozier to them as they've been looking for guard help and scoring off the bench for Gabe Vincent, a familiar face, and Jared Vanderbilt. So you get a bench wing defender that's athletic in Vanderbilt, a backup guard in Gabe Vincent that's familiar with the system. If I had the power rank the three kind of preliminary ideas I set out there, this one would probably be my least favorite, but it's another idea of how you can use the Rozier $25 million contract to aggregate two players back potentially that both make either in the low $10 million range or one in the 15, one in the 10 range. It's like you can be very versatile in the players you take back with a $25 million contract. And since you are not in the second apron, you are still allowed to aggregate contracts in a deal. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Long break of Heat basketball. Game coming up this upcoming Sunday. No watch party. Got to do some NFL stuff, but we're still dropping content on a daily basis. So make sure you're subscribed here at the Heat Report.